of the Cozy Corner of Cinema. This is episode number 199, being recorded on Friday, January 23rd, 2026. I got a cat looking right at me. It's been silent this whole morning, and then the first noise that he hears is me talking into a microphone all by myself. He's just as shocked as the other cat, who is also looking at me. It's like a Village of the Damned type situation, but instead of kids with black eyes, it's cats who finally have some noise going on in the house. But anyways, hope you all are doing well. It's going to be pretty cold this weekend here on the East Coast. I'm going to get some pretty gnarly temperature drops. Some snow is going to be coming in. It's going to be really wonderful and really nice to see the landscapes painted white. But make sure you are being prepared. In any kind of event situation where we're going to be getting heavy temperature drops, they like to be really on top of things, making sure the heat's running where you're going, making sure you're not acting like a madman at the grocery store. Everybody's running, getting milk and bread. It's always kind of the joke. But just being prepared, for whatever comes. Staying inside. It's definitely the great thing, unless you are required to go out, and even still, just be careful out there. That's all it really is. But anyway, so, here we are, yet again. The Oscar nominations have been announced, have been released. I'm not going to talk about the best pictures just yet. Also, if you can hear that noise in the background, one of the cat's toys is going off. My girlfriend said she could hear it in one of the episodes, so hopefully it doesn't pick up too much. Try not to have too much background noise. But what I was saying is that the Oscar nominations have been announced. And we're going to talk about the Best Picture nominations on the next episode. My girlfriend will be joining me for that one, and we will talk about all 10. I've seen all 10 of them. She has seen 9 of 10. So, either way, an interesting list overall. Interesting nominations. I'm looking at this year, and I think it's a little underwhelming this year, I gotta say. I think it's a lot of the same films being nominated again and again, which isn't an uncommon occurrence. But I don't have last year's pulled up, but I don't think the quality of films this year is as strong. I think there's a handful of films that I thought were exceptional, and I thought were really fantastic, but more so than not, I think there's a lot that I was underwhelmed on or just straight up didn't like. And when we talk about the best pictures, I'm not going to be a jerk about any of it. Because one of the things in the show that I always try to emphasize is that if you're giving me your ears for a half hour or for 28, 29 minutes, I'm not interested in just dogging on a film. That doesn't mean I'm not, I'm not going to say anything negative about a film. I don't think that's good criticism to just, be like, I'm not going to say anything negative because, when I talk to my acquaintances or I talk to people, about films, I won't be a jerk about it. But if somebody said, hey, do you like or dislike this film? I'll be honest, because I know that already there's a couple films in the Best Picture nominations that I'm definitely not a fan of. But I will talk about that in due time. I'll give my critiques. I'll be fair. It was cool to see, the international nominations were pretty solid, I gotta say. I've seen 4 out of 5 of them. I'm trying to actually find the list. I don't really like the setup on this website. And I thought, above all else, that's where it really shined. Oh my goodness, I have to international. There we go. Only one of the films I haven't seen, which is the voice of Hand Rajab from Tunisia. But The Secret Agent and Sentimental Value are both nominated for Best Picture. So that will be talked about in due time. But I talked about It Was Just an Accident on the show, the Jafar Panahi film. I talked about how much since that episode, I've gone even higher in my positive reaction to that film. I think it's such a smart, adult, mature, witty, ambiguous film that I've only seen a couple of Jafar Panahi's films, but That is definitely my favorite of the bunch. Although I know his biggest one, I don't think I've seen, or at least I don't remember the name of. I think it's either. Oh boy, is it Taxi that's his biggest? I forgot which one is actually, or maybe it was Three Faces. It was one of the two. But yeah, definitely my favorite of his work. Really great to see that get some talk. Oh my goodness, I don't know if you can hear the cats. They're going wild in the background. Oh my goodness. Hold on, everybody. But real shame it didn't get a Best Picture nomination. Not that the Palme d'Or always do. Um, Typically they do. I'm thinking of recent memory of like Triangle of Sadness and Anora both winning the Palme d'Or and getting Best Picture nominations, and Anora winning Best Picture, one of only four films to do so, win both the Palme d'Or and the Best Picture. But that doesn't always happen. Like Titane, the Julie DeCarnu, I think is how you say your last name, or Julie, I don't exactly remember. I apologize. Film. A film I like a lot. That's a film that the first time I saw it, I wasn't prepared for the distinct halves in the film, and I just wasn't on board with it. But then I watched it again later on, and I don't know if it actually even made my list of favorites that year. I went top 21 or whatever it was, but or maybe 18. I don't remember, but that should have made the list, I think. That's a really exceptional film that didn't get nominated that year. But yeah, it was just an excellent. Yeah, it's a breath of fresh air. It's like a mature film. It's just an excellent film. And this is even after I wasn't the biggest fan of No Bears, which was Panayi's last film. So I really didn't know what to expect with this. I think I don't know if I had seen any of his other work besides No Bears when that released, but I think that one as well. There's something may have been lost in translation for me. I'm feeling out in the cold on that one. Not, I guess, completely understanding the politics of it, but I know a lot of people were really on top of that film and really dig it. But anyways, yeah, quality film, and then a film I hadn't even talked about on the show that I really liked. From a director where I think I've seen another one of his films, but Sirat, or Sirat, I don't know how to say, Sirat. That's a film from Spain, directed by Oliver Lakes, written by Santiago Filo and Oliver Lakes, Laxe. And I think the other film of his I'd seen was Fire Will Come, which I don't totally remember. That was actually his previous film from 2019, but I've seen it, but I don't remember a lot about it. But Sirat is an excellent film. One that I really didn't get a lot of talk, so it was great to see it get some. I think I got a couple nominations. Really good film. This father and his young son, they go out into the desert where there is like this rave happening. It's like in the middle of nowhere, and he's looking for his missing daughter. He says that she may have been at this party. And some of the rave people, they're nice. They're like, hey, the cops really don't want us around here. We got to get out of here. So we're going to go somewhere else to a different. I can't remember if they're going to a different party or not. Anyways, the film gets very dark in a way that I wasn't expecting. Because at first, it's just this missing, trying to find his daughter. Trying to see what's going on. And then where it goes to becomes sort of what I'm talking about with a film like The Surfer, which is you're almost trapped in an open prison that you can't get out of. Not necessarily like that in a way. It doesn't take any sort of supernatural thing where they're literally trapped, but it's just a thing where they're just trying to get out of this desert. But it goes even further than that in a way that I don't even want to say, because I was curious. This was another one that I watched it not really knowing anything about it other than that it was one that people really liked. So I would watch the trailer afterwards, and I think the trailer actually did a pretty good job at not really saying much. I think there's one shot at the end of the trailer that probably could have left out, because there's a really solid and tense sequence involving characters having to be very precise, and I'll leave it at that. And boy, oh boy, it's just an incredibly done sequence. But Sirat, great to see this get some talk. I hope the nominations turn some more people onto it. Really good stuff on there. Honestly, I don't mean to go through the whole film. I'm just kind of casually looking at some of these. I was just kind of curious. Cool to see something like the Ugly Stepsister get a nominee for a nomination for makeup and hairstyling. That was a film actually I thought was pretty solid. I've talked about my I'm very cold on a lot of contemporary horror films, but that was one that I actually came out obviously last year, and I actually thought was pretty solid, pretty good stuff overall. It's a very gross film, which is a compliment. The special effects I think are very disgusting, and it's very brutal. You know, they talk about like having to rearrange like to do surgery, quote unquote, on someone's nose, and they have to break it, and it's pretty grisly. And normally, I'm not interested in spectacle of just like, oh, look how crazy and gory this is, but it was really well done there. And actually, going back to Titan, that's another film as well. That the violence, that director, Julie Ducournau, she's really good at showing the brutality of violence without being grotesque. I mean, there are grotesque sequences in Titan, but even there's one scene in particular, which I don't give away, where a character has to break a body part, and boy, oh boy, whoever did the sound department on that, they deserve an Academy Award right there, because, oh boy, it makes you cringe, but it's just so well done. And that's just such a compliment you can give to somebody trying to portray violence on screen, trying to portray how harsh it can be. And next week I'll talk about The Secret Agent that I will go into. But yeah, overall, I'll talk more about the Best Picture nominations. I'll go through all 10. Talk about the highs, the lows, and yeah, they're just fun to talk about. I say this every year. It's just fun to kind of see what the film of that moment is, and the general kind of consensus, what wins that year, whether disregarding quality or whether or not it will hold up over X amount of time. It doesn't matter. It's just that was the film of the moment, and we'll see. We'll see what comes out on top of this moment. Let me get another sip of coffee here. The cats are going absolutely wild, man, I tell you. But, yeah, 2026 off to a good start. A lot of films watched so far. A lot of films watched theatrically. I'm going to see 4 films today, and at the time of this recording, I've seen 15 already, and it's the 23rd. So we're off to a good start. Some good stuff this year so far, like I mentioned before. Like Dead Man's Wire is one, the more I think about, the more I really like. 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, I thought was just phenomenal. I thought it was such an exceptional film. Primate, which is a total surprise right there. Just a lean, mean, 90-minute horror film with an incredible score. I was surprised at how much I liked it. I thought it was a solid horror film. And the Plague as well, a dark drama, but really good as well. So, I mean, man, I got 15 films here, 2 retros, so 14 new releases, and I already have a couple here that I'm like, wow, that's great. I also saw the new Jim Jarmusch film, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, which was pretty good. I've been kind of hit and miss with Jarmusch's newer films. I think stuff like Patterson and Only Lovers Left Alive are highlights of his filmography, but definitely Patterson. Something like The Dead Don't Die and the short film he did, Strange Way of Life, I'm not really crazy about. I think Dead Don't Die especially is pretty rough. I think that it's one of his weakest films. But just, Jarmusch definitely has a style. This is a very quiet, very mannered film. Some people have not. I was curious what some of my acquaintances had to say. Some of them were kind of lukewarm on it. Some liked it. I was talking to my girlfriend. I know she just straight up didn't like it. So, and it's not for everybody. I think I have a lot of issues with the film, but overall, it's just, it's a film that once I settled with, I was like, cool. I'm on board with this. But anyways, I wanted to mention as well. Here we go. I wanted to briefly talk about. I'm not going to really talk about the film itself. New Netflix film, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, The Rip, directed by really kind of the big sell for me, Joe Carnahan. Joe Carnahan is a really solid filmmaker. I haven't liked all this stuff, but he came on the scene with Narc from, was it 2002, 2003? Let me look it up here. I should probably not guess. I have endless information on my fingertips, and here I am guessing. 2002. He's also done some stuff like The Grey from 2011. I think it's a very well done film. Stretch from 2014. Enjoyable film. Cop Shop 2021. Pretty good film. It's funny. I actually was going to see his latest film, but I missed the showtime. I was out of town and they were showing it. I didn't even know it was a film by him. It's a film called Not Without Hope. And then I found out after the fact that it was by him, and I went, "Oh my gosh, what the?" It's crazy. He had two films last year, and then he had The Rip this year. So I think this is more of a kind of gun for hire sort of thing. This seems more of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's film. But anyways, the film itself is a very enjoyable thriller, good crime film. I think it goes a little too big at the end, maybe a little too big for my liking, but overall, enjoyable film. But I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, this why isn't this a theatrical film? Why is this being I don't want to say dumped on Netflix, but it's sort of like, with the Netflix thing, they say a film is popular for a week or two, they push it to the front, new Ben Affleck, Matt Damon film, and then after that, it's like, well, we get lost in the streaming sea. And I was curious because what motivated me to watch the film. I listened to a really good interview with both of them on Joe Rogan's podcast. And I know a lot of people aren't really crazy about Joe Rogan, but I will say that the conversation itself is very well put together. They talk a lot about the shift from when they won their Academy Award for Good Will Hunting in what year was that? Was that 97? I don't remember. 99, late 90s. I don't remember. And sort of the shift from a film like that to now, where Ben Affleck talks about the greater risk of making a film now and getting it out theatrically. He says if a film's budget is $25 million, just the budget, no marketing, no nothing else. If it's $25 million, it has to make $100 million to break even or make a profit, one of the two. I don't want to break down the conversation and try to remember off it. But anyways, even if you don't want to listen to the whole podcast, I recommend listening to some of those clips on YouTube. It's very informative, a really, really well up to date look. I mean, these guys are Hollywood movie stars, and they've done just so much work. They've been such a crucial part of the 21st century, the late 20th century into the 21st century. Because, I mean, Good Will Hunting, of course, big film, big Academy Award-winning film. Gus Van Sant, ironically, just talked about Dead Man's Wire briefly. They win the Academy Award screenplay for that. I don't know if that won Best Picture. Don't quote me on that. I'm not going to look it up because I don't really care that much. And then from there, kind of the trajectory in their careers. But Ben Affleck has been a quality filmmaker as well. The Gone Baby Gone, The Town, I think is an exceptional film. Of course, he'd win Best Picture with Argo. So yeah, it was a very good conversation, and I do recommend that to anybody who. And also, I've mentioned before, Down and Dirty Pictures, the book written by Peter Biskland, who talks about the shift from the 90s independent filmmaking into where that led the industry. And I think that was the right time to write that book, because a big part of that, I've mentioned the book before, but in case people haven't listened to me talk about it, a big part of that book is Miramax's influence and the Weinsteins' influence on it. And I think it was the right time to write that book, because now when you talk about the Weinsteins, their real life, Harvey Weinstein shenanigans has overtaken the conversation of just how important he was and how important Miramax was to independent films in the 90s. And they did a lot of gnarly stuff too, negatively. I mean, people talk about them being very difficult to work with, Harvey wanting certain things in the film. It was a whole big thing. I mean, I'm saying in the context of this book, in terms of a company like Miramax and the Weinsteins going to bat for these independent films, I think it's really exceptional. And I think that undeniably, whatever Bob and Harvey did afterwards in their personal lives, it really can't be. They really can't be left out of the conversation in terms of bringing these films to the mass and bringing a lot of foreign films to the mass. Sometimes for better or for worse. I know that there was some issue with, I think it was the Kurosawa films, that he was upset that they did it. I'm not gonna try to go off memory and then say it's definitive fact. But Down and Dirty Pictures, Peter Biskland, who also wrote Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, very, very well written book. So for definitely gotta give a highlight to that. But yeah, let me see here. I'm gonna pause this, get another cup of coffee, and then I'm gonna come back to the conversation. All right, pause that. Back with a hot cup of coffee, cold glass of water. The cats are acting like absolute maniacs. So all is well. Maybe you'll hear them in the background, like a rave going on or something like that. Oh my goodness gracious. Anyways, over the holiday break, I had a lot of time off work, so I spent a lot of the time at home, catching up on some films. And it was one of the nights. I don't know. My girlfriend and I, we had watched a film on Amazon. It was a contemporary Christmas film, and I looked in the suggested kind of bar. We wanted to watch something else, and I put on a film that I hadn't seen in a while, and I was taken aback. I think by how much, I guess I'm still thinking about it now, and how much I can kind of relate to it. Relate to it in terms of my own life, I should say. Anyways, I'm talking about The Family Man, 2000, directed by Brett Ratner, written by David Diamond and David Wiseman. And on the surface, it's a very, it's another version of It's a Wonderful Life. Nicolas Cage in the film. The film starts out with him and Tia Leone. They're at an airport, and they have a moment where their lives can go in two different directions, where he can either go on this plane and his life changes one way, or he stays behind and his life changes another way. He ends up going on the plane, and it becomes, I don't even know what he does exactly. He's a it says here he's an investment broker. He's a big time investment broker. He's got an office on the top floor, incredibly wealthy. He just does his own thing. But anyways, without going through the whole plot, he gets in a situation where he ends up in an alternate version of his life, where he's, instead of being a top floor level, big wealthy hotshot, he now lives in a small town with his old love, played by Tia Leone. He has a family. Instead of a sports car, he drives a minivan. Instead of this high level job, he works at a local tire place with that I think it's Tia Leone's dad owns or something. Anyways, but on the surface, it's a very it's a very silly romance kind of film. He's got to learn, that having all this money and power is fine, but ultimately it's the people who you have in your life, and it's a very surface level kind of film. But I was taken aback, I think, by how much the film had affected me, and how much I was really just still thinking about. Even now, still thinking about. I watched this probably about a little less than a month ago. And at the end, it was a quality film, and it was just such a heartfelt film. And I'm thinking about this film, and I think about my own life, and I'm thinking about, things I think we take for granted. I think we all kind of want to be somewhere. I think a lot of us maybe want to be somewhere that we're not. We want to have the top floor on the office. We want to, like say, we want to be a big time filmmaker, a big time musician. You want to sell out concert stadiums. You want to do this, you want to do that. But just some of the moments throughout where he's really starting to kind of get into the groove, get into the flow of his life, I think are ones that, it's sentimental, yes, but it also really kind of worked for me. The idea of him just working at this tire shop, working at, and at first being very apprehensive about it, but then becoming becoming like really strong at his craft, and just talking to the people around him, and it's not about chasing after something that we don't have. In that case, chasing something that he did have, but being aware and being very, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to pause it to try to make myself sound smarter than I actually am, because I'm a dummy in this regard. But being very aware of your surroundings, it's sort of like one of these things where I often hear a lot of people talk about, like, oh man, Orson Welles, he directed Citizen Kane when he was 24. Paul Thomas Anderson, he directed Boogie Nights when he was 26. And oh man, he's great authors. They've written all these books, and this band, they started when they were in high school, blah blah blah. And I haven't done anything that's exists. It's like I hear people talk about that, and to me, it's like, well, that's just a different path. I've talked about before. Everyone has different advantages and disadvantages. Some people have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of stuff, and a lot of people don't. Some people, being where I am, I find myself incredibly fortunate where I am in my life. I don't want to be a big Hollywood filmmaker. I love the films I make with my acquaintances. I love making, because we make we make silly little comedy shorts, and to me, I will take that over a $25 million budget any day. Being on a Hollywood set, dealing with this, dealing with that. I feel incredibly fortunate to know the people around me, when my beautiful girlfriend. I'm so fortunate to be able to walk through the door and see her and our cats, and I'm so fortunate. I go to the cinema and I see people whom I talk to and I talk about films with, and it's great being like, oh, what do you watch lately? Oh, that's cool. I watched this too. Blah blah. Blah. I go, have a drink, and the people there I talk to, and I'm not a super, like, I'm going to talk to everybody, this and that. I consider myself social enough, but excuse me. But the people in my life and the situation that I'm at, coming home and reading and working on my screenplays and working on my writings and watching films and turning off social media, because I think that's one of the things too. It's funny that you go online and everyone else, I don't know if you can hear the cat feeder in the background, everyone else is always talking about, oh, this other person, they're so lucky, they get to do this, they get to that. It's like, well, one, you're seeing a facade. You're seeing what they want you to see online. You're not seeing anything else behind that. So who knows? You're looking at a screen and letting it dictate your own life when you got to be dictating your own. Like, just where I'm at, the people I know, the people I'm where I want to be at this point. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy writing. I enjoy watching films. I enjoy reading. So this idea of chasing after something that because someone else has it, and it's like the whole ending of the film. There's this one like long monologue that Nicolas Cage's character has, and on paper, you would think that, all right, this is kind of schmaltzy, this is whatever. But the way that because I think I've always said, even people were, even when it was a cool thing to dog on Nicolas Cage and he was doing a lot of these straight to video stuff, which he still kind of does. When everyone's like, oh, he's terrible, I've never not thought he was a great actor from as far back as I can remember when seeing films, when in theaters with him, seeing like National Treasure and stuff in theaters, the second one, and all those, which I know is later on. Obviously, that's my point is that from when I was born to being aware of him, but just the way he delivers this monologue, I just found just so touching and so heartfelt. And like, the older I'm getting, I've mentioned before, I think I'm just getting more sentimental. I think I'm just getting more like, I don't know. I just watched this film and I wasn't prepared for how much it was going to affect me positively. It just made me really kind of take a step back, because sometimes, I do get like, man, I'm looking at my writing and I'm like, man, this writing is terrible. I'm looking at, the films I make. I'm like, oh my gosh, I messed up that editing shot. I should have told that actor to do it again. It's my fault, or this and that, or I'm like, oh man, I got to wake up early in the morning, all this and that. But then I'm like, wait, I'm incredibly happy where I am. I have a roof over my head. I have a wonderful girlfriend. I have an array of books and films under the roof. I have writing, which if it's not good, we're gonna go back and we're gonna work on it. We're gonna make it as good as we can, and then we're gonna work from there. I enjoy doing this show. I talked before. I don't care if anyone listens to the show. I'm not or people pictures. I don't care. I do this for me. If people listen and they get something out of it, fantastic. I truly, if I was interested in the view count or the play count, I mean, boy, oh boy, I would not have been making it this far. I'm on episode 199 or 200, whatever episode this is, and the views are about the same, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. I do this for me. It's just about being aware of your being very blessed with where you're at and where your surroundings are, and going from there and really kind of building a life for yourself and building something that when your time is up, whenever that may be, that you can look back and go, it was worth it. And that's ultimately up for you to kind of craft that as you will. But I'm going to wrap this episode up here, guys. The cat's finally stopped going crazy, of course, when I'm done recording. So we'll leave it there. I'm going to finish up this coffee, get this episode out, and we're going to talk about the Best Picture nominees pretty soon. Nominations, I should say. Or nominees, whatever. That's all I got to say for this one. You guys take care. Stay warm out there. Stay true to yourself, your craft. Don't be a passenger in your own life, and just grab life by the balls, I guess, so to speak. But, yeah, until next time.